She's been the highest ranking Bahamian at the CDB, the Caribbean Development Bank, the International Monetary Fund, and also at the Inter-American Development Bank. My special guest, Therese Turner-Jones. Welcome.
Thank you, Julian. Super special to be here. And let me just say, I really applaud the work you're doing on the legends. Not just because you're having me, but I think it's really important that Bahamians get to tell their stories and we document our stories because no one else is going to do it for us.
That's the truth.
My father used to say, it's really important to write a book. You know, he did, I think the only book on the Bahamian Constitution was written by my father, Maxwell Turner. So it's kind of in my blood to keep it going in that sense. But I think for the historians out there, for the history buffs out there, and I have one, my Bernard's son Joshua is a major history buff.
Oh, cool.
He actually is the one that is documenting all of our family stories. But Joshua aside, there are other Joshuas out there in other families, people who want to know about the history. The Bahamian history may not be deep, but it's quite important that we all understand it, and young Bahamians begin to understand, you know, where they are in the arc of our history and who built it, how it was built. But the other fascinating thing for me is we're a small country, really small country, but we pack a lot of punch. You know, in Jamaica there's an expression, we small but we talawat. That's the Jamaican expression. The Bahamas has to come up with a similar one. And I'd like to say we are extremely small, but we have made our mark around the world and in all kinds of fields. Sidney Poitier, whether it's me as an economist, but our athletes all over the world,
really
our political leaders have made their mark. So, and there are many other fields where this is happening. But it's really important that people get it, because if you think about the world, who grabs attention? Now, I'm a tennis buff. Last night I witnessed something entirely remarkable. Venus Williams, at 45 years old, Venus was here, by the way, just last month doing a presentation. Venus Williams at 45 won in 2 straight sets over someone half her age.
Wow.
Okay? Now, if you follow tennis, you know that the Williams sisters are extremely exceptional. But why am I making a point of this? Because when young people in the US, and especially young people of African descent in the United States, see a black woman performing at that level, Serena and Venus have done some remarkable things over the course of their careers. It's really inspiring. And it's not just inspiring at, oh, look at what they can do. But no, they go, they practice, they pick up a racket, and before you know it, Coco Gauff is around. Or Haley Baptiste, who she's playing the doubles with. This is the point. If someone watching the show tonight is inspired to become an economist or wants to reach outside of the Bahamas to work in an international organization, I'd be happy. That's really why I'm here, to see how my story can impact someone to the point of saying, well, you know, yeah, I like economics, I want to go deeper, and by the way, I get LinkedIn requests all the time from Bahamians, other Caribbean people. Can you mentor me? Can you help me? And I always say yes, because it's one way to pay it forward, but it's also, you know, part of my passion in this field is to share my knowledge, but also try to inspire others to do similar things, because it's entirely possible.
It is. Now, you obviously are a globalized person. You think in a global way.
All the time.
And how important is it for Bahamians to be more global in their thinking?
Again, we're 400,000 people on a good day, right? So we don't have all the solutions for all of the challenges that exist in this country. We have a lot, and we have great technicians in a number of fields. But if we want to get best in class, if we want to see who's doing the best around the world, you've got to open your eyes and look. You've got to search. You have to do research. You have to say, all right, how is it that Costa Rica managed to double its GDP per capita over a short period of time? What did they do that would make, and when I joined the IDB, and this is what the reason I'm raising the issue of Costa Rica, is that when I joined the IDB in 2013, the general manager at the time set a goal that every Caribbean country should get to the GDP per capita of Costa Rica over a certain period of time. Now, yes, a lot of progress has been made, but we're still not there yet. So it's good to set a goal, right? Because we're not there yet. I think we're there because we have a lot of material comfort. We've got, some of us can do almost anything we want because we have the means, because we've earned enough income to be able to do that.
Can I stop you there? Because when you say the goal, that goal, shouldn't that be the National Development Plan that still evades us?
Well, I'm a big fan of strategy and of having a plan. National development plans used to be very, very popular in the 80s, early 90s, and they've sort of fallen out of fashion. But now they're coming back in fashion. And in fact, developed countries are now talking about what's the national development strategy. So these things come and go in waves depending on where the thought is on macroeconomic development. But I think we need to have some kind of roadmap. Where are we going? Because I've been home now since early March. And my reading, my listening, my observations, there are a lot of Bahamians who feel as if they're not actually realizing their potential, or they're really hurting. Now, there are lots of reasons many of us are hurting, but people who are not in our same income bracket maybe are hurting even more because, one, inflation, but that's internationally driven, and everybody's heard that story already. Post-COVID, it's been difficult for supply chains to get really in equilibrium, but also the shifting sands of policy related to trade and tariffs in the US is having a major disruption in how the global economic system works. So the impact of those shifting policy perspectives, and I'm trying to make this as simple as possible so that everybody can understand what I'm saying. If the United States, which has been a global thought leader on opening up trade for the world, and we mentioned the IMF and so on, these institutions were built over decades to get to a point where now the IMF has 184, 185 members. And that means that 185 countries are represented, their views are represented at the table when it comes to tariff policy, monetary policy, fiscal policy, trade policy. Those views are taken into account. Now, when the dominant power, which is the United States, is the biggest economy in the world, I think everybody knows that. China is very fast becoming that next big global power. When dramatic shifts in their way of approaching economics change, it will impact the rest of us.
All of us.
All of us.
I'm going to stop you right there because we've got to take a quick break, but
Sure.
we're going to come and get deeper into
Sure.
that. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're speaking with economist and strategic thinker, Therese Turner-Jones.
Julia.
America.
Yeah, the US.
We can't run from it.
No. First of all, because our tourism industry is so dependent on visitors from the United States, we have to pay very close attention. And I've mentioned this in another place that the Deputy Prime Minister alerted us earlier last month that because of what's happening in the US, we should expect some softening in our stayover arrivals. And that's on top of the fact that stayover arrivals are really flat in the Bahamas, and we know the reasons for that. We are constrained by the number of hotel rooms, and so we can't expand. So what we really need is more investment in infrastructure planned in tourism in order to change that dynamic. But that's not something that happens overnight. It takes a long time to get investors here and build properties. However, there are other ways in which we're intricately linked to the US economy, and it happens through our trade networks, right? So almost everything we consume, I don't want to say 100% because we import oil from the Middle East and so on, but there are other export markets that we tap into, where our goods come from. But the majority of the goods consumed come from the US. And the majority of inputs into anything that we produce would come from the US. So if steel prices go up, the price of construction will go up here. The tariffs on all products now in the United States moving up by a minimum of 10%, but in some cases 50% if they came from Canada, which will eventually get through to our markets. Those are going to have serious impact on the cost of goods in the Bahamas. So what I would say to Bahamians is, now is the time to really think about how you're consuming, what you're consuming, what is really necessary, what's not necessary, what can be postponed. Maybe you wanted to buy a new fridge, but maybe this is not the time to do it. Or maybe you want to think about, can I get that fridge from somewhere else, right? So I know that some retailers are going directly to China, for example, to source goods and build up inventory. I've always been a strong proponent of more South-South cooperation and trade. Mm-hmm. Having worked at IDB, and regional integration was part of that, I think we miss out on trade networks with Central America and South America. Now those places are farther. We don't have the maritime links, and because we have these logistical supplies already established, and our major distributors and wholesalers, they have these supplies locked in. That's not trivial, because it's not that easy to change logistics. You know, like, all right, I don't want it from I don't want it from Florida today, I want it from Brazil tomorrow. It doesn't happen that way. It takes time. But what I would say to distributors and people who are thinking about importing goods, try to look elsewhere. Try to diversify. Again, we've seen some of that in policy, in that it was mentioned that, okay, we can get eggs from the DR, we can get agricultural produce from the DR or somewhere else. I also think what this is saying to us, Julian, is we have underinvested in certain parts of the economy. Now, the Bahamas will never be an agricultural,
that self-sufficiency is a dream, huh?
No, we don't have the soil. We don't have the water. We don't have the scale. We're not Jamaica, where you can stick anything in the ground and it grows. Like, Jamaica has extremely rich soil. Every single backyard is growing all manner of fruits and vegetables, herbs, and so on. And they've got a bigger population. And they have a very, 250,000 people in Jamaica work in agriculture in some form or other, whether they're a small farm holder or whether they work on farms. We don't have that industry, right? So it's a bit of a pipe dream to think that we'll ever be self-sufficient in food. That's just not what we're going to be able to do. We don't have herds of cattle because we don't have land for that. So we barely have goats running around, right? So the word for that is ruminants, right? Yeah. We don't have ruminants. So, it's a bit of a dystopian idea to think that we will one day be able to, then forget it. We're not going to be able to do that. Just go into any supermarket and just look at the range of produce, and then you say to yourself, okay, can we grow cilantro at scale? Can we grow lettuce at scale? Can we grow cauliflower at scale? Can we grow potatoes, onions at scale? No, right? Maybe onions, maybe tomatoes, maybe sweet peppers, maybe goat peppers. There are absolutely products that we can be able to produce for the local market. Mm-hmm. But no, where are you going to get your beef? Where are you going to get your whatever? Protein, chicken, yes. Maybe we can do more chicken farms. But full sufficiency is sorry to say, Minister of Agriculture or Tourism, it's not going to happen. Ideally,
it's a harsh reality, but I'm glad
it is a very harsh reality. Now, because when we talk about tourism and how to get more value added from that sector, one of the first things that comes up is, well, in the hotels, we don't see Bahamian food or produce or whatever. We don't have scale, right? We don't have scale. It's as simple as that. And maybe certain times during the year, a tomato producer or people who are doing these herbs in these greenhouses and so on can supply goods to one or two hotels, but it's not enough. It's not what we can do. Now, Should we encourage Bahamians to have backyard farms to cut back on their food bills? Absolutely. Because if I can grow tomatoes, if I can grow some sweet peppers, if I can grow cassava and so on, yes, that makes sense. That makes sense, cut down on your food bill. The reason why Jamaica does really well on its food bill is because they can grow a lot of fruits and vegetables. So the average person, and by that I mean the person who is maybe on the lower income bracket level, they can always eat, and they can eat well because cassava, sweet potatoes, plantains, bananas, oranges, healthy foods. Not that everybody eats healthy because they have as many fast food restaurants as we do, and KFC is a big fixture there as it is here. But what I'm saying is, people who in the Bahamas may not be able to afford to go into a Super Value or whatever to buy what you and I may be able to buy on a regular basis, they can have access to good fruits and vegetables at a very, very, very reasonable price. That makes a huge difference. And even Jamaica is not self-sufficient in food, as big as that country is, and as vast,
and as big as that industry is,
and as rich, and as big as that industry is.
They've been into manufacturing for ages.
And processing.
And
so
processing,
the other thing about food and agriculture production is, this time of year, everybody's got mangoes, right? They're falling and they're everywhere. But how many mangoes can we eat? Right?
I don't know about you, but I'm trying.
No, but my point is, if we had a processing plant to dry mangoes or to make mango juice or whatever.
So really whichever is just wastage. Then.
Absolutely.
We have to take another break, but there's a serious question I have to ask
Okay.
you. Stay with us. We're talking with Therese Turner-Jones. We'll be back. Welcome back. Getting back to the new policies that America is now pushing on all of us, how severe do you think the fallout will be for the Bahamas from that?
Okay, so let me start by saying the World Economic Outlook, which is done by the IMF, which gets updated every quarter. Since the beginning of 2025, it's been revised downwards in terms of the overall rate of growth for the world economy. Because as those policies shift, analysis gets done, and okay, the US economy is slowing down, and that's already playing out in the numbers, right? So once the US economy starts slowing down for us, it's a bad signal because tourism growth, and by the way, let's talk about stopover visitors, that number gets affected almost immediately, right? Because if you're feeling the pinch, you're gonna maybe take a shorter vacation, or you may take a cruise instead of staying in a hotel. Now, taking a cruise, you may say, oh yeah, but we get so many of those cruise visitors. But remember, those cruise visitors don't spend a lot of money when they land. They're here for very short periods of time. They get off the boat. Not all of them get off the boat.
That's true.
We need to find more things for them to do so that they spend more money locally. And on here, I would encourage the creation of more experiences, more tours, more exposure to Bahamian culture in real, authentic ways, more restaurants that are run by Bahamians with good food. You get off on a cruise, think about when you go on vacation. You want to experience local cuisine.
Exactly.
You go to Italy, and I'm going to Italy to look for confritters. I'm going to Italy to look for gelato or pizza or pasta, right? So it's the same thing. But we need to create the demand for that, right? So we can offer a wide variety of different experiences, and that's what a visitor wants. A visitor doesn't, let me just not be arrogant and assume that people are like me, but when I travel, I want to experience a diversity of different activities. I want to go to a museum. I want to go to, if it's Italy, I want to go to a winery. If it's Australia, I want to go to a winery. If it's Canada, I want to go to a winery. I'm into wines. Figure that out. But we have rum, right? We have the distillery now. So people want experiences. They want to do things. We have the chocolate factory at Grey Cliff. I think those are great, what I call innovations to rope people in and have good experiences here. But then there are other things that, if I'm into music, like I took one of my daughters invited a friend to come to Jamaica with us, and he was fascinated with the music scene in Jamaica. So he scouted out where he could go to listen to a particular kind of music. We have a rich musical heritage.
Yes.
I mean, there was another program that was on talking about how many nightclubs there used to be in the Bahamas, how many years ago, right?
And
That doesn't exist anymore. But imagine if people are coming here for music or the musical experience or to discover what Junkanoo really is. Speaking of music, you know, in Jamaica, I lived there for 10 years. I mean, you had Japanese people coming to Jamaica, coming to Kingston to learn how to do dancehall music or reggae or whatever. So I think there are parts of our story that we're not sharing with our visitors, but part of it has to do, again, with, I say, how the product developed. What we were selling initially, sun, sand, sea, hotels, casinos, stay on a nice beach, da-da-da-da-da. Well, once you've done that, what else is there, right? What else can I experience of the Bahamas? And look, we have a yachting sector. We have a scuba diving sector. We've got the best marine resources in the world.
What are we doing wrong? Or not doing enough of?
Or not enough of. I think exposing our visitors to the range of experiences that they can be. Now, I'm not going to criticize. I don't know enough about what Ministry of Tourism is doing today, but you know, I worked in the research department there some time ago, and I think there was a lot of attention being paid to how can we get our visitors to do other experiences. I think we have to put our heads together. We have to bring our best minds to try to solve this. And it's not about diluting our culture to commercialize it. So please don't hear that, anybody out there. But I think there are ways to monetize and to earn and to add value to the experience of the visitor so that they want to come back and spend money on whether it's local products, whether it's a straw bag or something uniquely Bahamian. Bahama handprint, something. I mean, there are all manner of things that I think we do exceptionally well that brand the Bahamas. And, you know, recently I have seen the Ministry of Tourism, you know, when they do these trips, try to highlight some of our designers and so on. This is really important. That's part of our authenticity. That's part of the creativity that we bring to the tourism industry. Again, you know, I think what we need in this country, we need to just put collective creative hats on to come up with solutions. We have lots of creative people. Junkanoo, as an art form, as a musical, I don't know.
If we can stop fighting over
cornucopia of talent. It's the best. Yeah. My father and I used to talk about this a lot, Julian, because he would always say after Junkanoo, he'd say, if only Bahamians would put as much effort into work and other spheres as they do into Junkanoo, imagine what this country would be.
No, it's true though.
But the point is, it's for every Bahamian. It's not just rich or poor or rich or whatever. It's not just PLB or F&M. We're all in this. It's a love of art and music, and it comes together in a spectacular way. And for people like me who I've never actually been on Bay Street doing the thing, I just watch. It is, I would say, I do it because for me it's like soul serving, if you know what I mean. It's a spiritual experience see Junkanoo.
It is.
And what I admire most is the absolute joy that, one, you feel, but two, that you see coming out of every, whether it's a musician, dancer, the people conducting the dance. I mean, the intensity of it, the amount of effort that has gone into it, and it's unique to us. Now, Junkanoo is not unique to us as a form because Jamaica has Junkanoo, it's very different.
Right.
All the Caribbean had some form of it.
Yeah.
But the Bahamas, we have perfected it. We have taken it to another level. We continue to innovate. But the music, it brings together the best of us. It creates musicians from children at a very young age. I always marvel at when you go to any church in the Bahamas, how many people can play a musical instrument. And those talents those talents can be put to other use. So we have the creativity
We
that
just got to bring the
we
industry
need to bring
together.
bring it together. And it's, I mean, I use Junkanoo almost as a metaphor for how the country as a whole can collaborate and cooperate in other things. So during COVID, I mean, people had to be very creative about how they were going to survive. In fact, we were talking about this the other day, that, you know, on Sundays now, you know, Sundays used to be a day when everybody cooked and whatever. And now what do? A lot of us are, I'm going to shout out to the Gomez Catering family, but
Yeah, I think we've all been
it's
there.
an absolute joy to receive that menu. Okay, I think we're going to go with Gomez this Sunday. But again, when you're in a situation where you need to be creative about your livelihood, they come because we're creative people and human beings.
Survivors.
Human beings, one, there's the will to survive, but two, and this is something I'm going to say this. This is going to sound shocking, but the Celts have a view of spirituality. They said there are two books. There's the small book, which is our spiritual life. Let's call that what's written in the Bible. And then there's the big book, which is creation. And creation is the cosmos. It's the creativity of every human being. And that's bigger than the small book, right?
True.
Because within each of us, there is a font of creativity and knowledge. And, you know, for some people, you may say, oh, well, they weren't very well educated, or they can't do this or they can't do that. Not true, right? Every single human being has the capacity to create something. And on that, I want to put in a plug for better education.
Welcome back. Our final segment with the economist and strategic thinker, Therese Jones. Education.
Education. So my last comment is we need better investment in education. We need Bahamians who can think for themselves, analyze problems of themselves, and learn to collaborate and work together. The rise in crime, the rise in violence, has to do with our inability to negotiate with one another, our inability to respect each other,
To communicate.
and that's because the tools aren't there. So education is not just about going to school, passing those exams. Education is about how do you deal with your elders? How do you talk to your neighbor? How do you communicate with the world? And now we have so many ways to communicate, right? And sadly, social media has become a short form for communications. It really isn't. You and I can only deal with differences if we sit down, talk it over, get it on the table. And the other piece about education is what understanding the world can do for you. And I think, Julian, you asked me about, you know, my perspective on life, and it's global, and I look around the world and see where can we take some lessons. Once we start learning how the rest of the world works, one, we become extremely proud of who we are as people, and we become very vested in our own country and its future. But we also want to say, okay, if they can do it like that, we can do it better, right? So when I go around and I see streets without sidewalks or no parks for our children, I get annoyed, because when our officials travel and when we travel, we enjoy parks. We sit on the benches, we talk. We enjoy the flowers, we enjoy the trees. So why are we depriving Bahamians of that? And, you know, yes, resources are finite, but let's think about putting our resources to the best use so that the best of Bahamians can come out. The same way with Junkanoo, that feeling we have when we produce something so spectacular. We can do that on a regular basis, every single day, if we put our minds to it. And it's a mindset. And my wish for every Bahamian is to have that growth mindset. The sky's the limit. We live in paradise, but we have to make it a paradise that works for everyone, not just for a few. So
Some very profound statements.
Thank you.
Therese
Thank you.
Jones. Of course, there's a quality of life that leads to a better economic life as well, eh?
Yep.
Yeah, thank you, and I'm
No,
proud of
thank
you and
you.
your achievements.
Wow.
Really, you know.
Thank you, Julian.
You've done it. You've done it.
I'm trying. I'm not done yet.
No. I didn't say you were done. I said you've done it.
I know.
And then you have your own. Let's give a plug for your consultancy
Yes.
services, Max Gwen Limited.
Thank you.
Great, good.
Thank you.
And I know you'll see even bigger and better things.
Thank you.
Great. And thank you for joining us. And we'll see you next time on Legends.